Hi, Diamond Ninja. Who are you again? I always forget. Oh. Good morning, Sarah. Good to see you. The lighting is super bright today. I have no idea how to fix this. It's just gonna be really bright, you know. Oh, Alexi, that's right. Good morning. Hey, Meg, welcome to the morning stream. Wow. Hello, Enza. Welcome to your first open office hours. I know, but can't make it to... Well, why can't... Oh, man. I hope everything is okay. You went out for a run this morning. How was that, Alexi? Sounds like fun. He has virtual TOC. Hello, Mr. Ross. Wow, I didn't know they were doing that. Okay, that's cool, I guess. Grandmaster to you too, Itamar. I just got to review this recipe in my head because I haven't made it in a really long time. And while that's getting started, why don't I just make some tea? Who doesn't like tea? Yum. What's on the menu for today? Okay, so I think that my only constraint was that it had to be something that we could eat for dinner. Right, Meg? So I'm eating dinner today at 11 o'clock, which is totally fine. I was thinking something easy that could be made with a lot of ingredients that a lot of you have at home, and something vegetarian. So everyone can enjoy it, right? Bon Appetit did a thing a couple days ago about pantry pastas, right? Where you know, they're dishes just made with a bunch of stuff you have like in your pantry, right? So you don't have to like go out and like buy these things in the supermarket or something, or the grocery store. So in a very similar vein, we're gonna try and do that too. So today on the menu, yeah, I didn't even know Chris had kids. I mean, I did know Chris had kids, but it was really nice to see him interact with his children. I also saw another video with Gordon Ramsay and his children, and they're like full grown, right? They're like your age and older, and it was the funniest thing. He must have said "pan down" to his daughter Megan, I think probably like 80 times throughout the entire video. It's so funny. He says, pan down, Meg, pan down. And what he's saying is like not like he has to put a pan down, but he's telling her to pan the camera down, because he's like, it's like if he's talking, the camera pans to his face. If he's chopping, the camera has to pan down to the cutting board. And she was extremely slow to do it, like the whole like 15-minute video. And he was like, pan down, Meg, pan down. And it was so funny. And she's like 20, I think, or somewhere around there. Yeah, and unfortunately, my kids aren't here. They're not with me. They're at their grandparents. So my only cameraman is this laptop. Yeah, so we're working on getting some better angles here. Right now, this laptop is on a stack of like 6 of my thickest books. So it's pretty high up, and that's why we can kind of put it down, like have a camera angle that's pointing kind of down to my workstation. But yeah, it would be nice to have a camera person. So let's get started. We're making a mushroom risotto. Okay. For those of you who don't know what risotto is, it is rice soup, and that's a joke. That was a joke. Well, what really is risotto? I have no idea. I like to call it rice soup, but it's an Italian dish. It's basically rice cooked in a broth of your choosing. And yes, it's an Italian dish, and you cook it in broth. You can either make it in the pan or in the oven. And we're making it on the stovetop. And this guy right here, why do I like stovetop risottos more than oven-baked risottos? I like to see what's going on. And it allows a lot of improvisation, and it allows for also a lot of flexibility, which is the same thing. It's more forgiving. If you put it in the oven, like whatever you had in the bowl or the pot, the oven-safe bakeware is final, right? You can't add to it in the middle of it. You can't take away. So we're going to do it on the pot, okay? The best rice to use is an Italian short grain. There's two types that you can use. What do I have? Wait, it should be, oh yes, I have arborio rice. All right, it's got to get it. Whoa! Whoa! Not pan down, calm down. Calm down. Oh my goodness. Okay. Right. So it is a short grain rice. You want short grain. That means it's nice and like spherical, close to spherical, and elliptical, rather than like a really long rice like a jasmine or a basmati. You don't really need Italian rice. It is better with Italian rice, but you can use sushi rice. It has a very similar grain structure. See, here's arborio rice, and over here I have the standard Japanese short grain rice. Do I know what cultivar this is? I must have thrown the bag away. This is a very special Japanese short grain rice, and you can see it's a lot smaller than the arborio, but it's still short, and that's the key. Because you really want these rice modules kind of to act like a pasta in like a couscous kind of way. Like you want it to stay together. You don't want it to like break apart. And that's what long grain rices typically do. So these are more structurally robust. How much am I going to put? I don't know. That's the beauty of the recipe. And we're gonna be making it with risotto. All right. You can, with mushrooms. Okay. So let's get chopping. So today we're gonna have 3 different mushrooms. I have right here with me baby cremini, right? Also known as baby portobellos. I have these shiitakes pre-sliced because my grocery store only had pre-sliced ones. Hashtag COVID-19. Okay. I hate pre-sliced ones. They tend to dry out quickly in your fridge. Whatever. All right. And so we're just going to cut these. And we're going to cut it to a very specific shape. Okay. So listen up. I want to dice these up so that their final size will basically be the same size as a grain of arborio rice, all right? So, but before you do this, you really got to be careful because you have to know that the mushrooms will shrink and the rice will expand slightly. So when you dice them, you want the final configuration to be the same size, right? Not the initial, okay? So that's what I'm doing right now. Cool. This is probably a very inefficient way of chopping these to be a uniform size, but I just woke up and I'm very tired. Okay, but you know what? Chris Morocco wouldn't use that excuse, so I'm not gonna use that excuse, all right? So here I'm gonna chop it lengthwise. I'm going to rotate them over so I can dice them the proper way. Ay, 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 ay. All right, cool. That's roughly what we're looking for. I swear my knife skills are usually more impressive, but today, I don't know. I really don't know anymore. Okay. For those of you who want to talk philosophy, there will definitely be time for that while this thing cooks. All right. So worry not. I'm going to cut this in half. All right. And now I'm going to put this off to the side. And now I'm going to. These are probably roughly 3 millimeters in size. That's what I'm doing right now. Okay. Yum. Okay. And it's okay if your rice grains and your mushroom bits aren't exactly the same size. Like, that's just an old practice. It's common in Chinese cooking. When it comes to your vegetables, it's extremely important because you want all of them to cook at the same time, right? And bigger things take a longer time to cook. But in this particular dish, the rice and the mushrooms aren't going to be in the pan for the same time. So it's not important that they take the same time to cook. So we're only trying to make them the same size purely for aesthetic purposes right now, right? I want little sneaky bits of mushroom. Like if I do this correctly, right, and the mushroom really is the same size as the rice, like when it's all put together in the final risotto, then it would be really hard to tell which is which, and like each bite becomes a beautiful mystery. Okay, that's what we're aiming for today. All right, so I'm going to show you what I have right now. Like if my rice is around this big, I'm making my mushrooms they might be a little too big, right? Like that's my goal, but I am assuming the mushrooms will cook down a significant amount and the rice will blow up a little bit. Just know, even though you don't reach it, you should have a goal, right? And you shouldn't be disappointed if you don't reach your goal. You should be proud that you set it in the first place, okay? I have some stray pieces that look a little too big, so I'm just going to cut them down a little bit. All right, no big deal. But, I mean, don't take it too seriously. It's not like we're on Bon Appetit or anything. All right, with the shiitakes, I'm going to do the same thing. Luckily, they're already arranged lengthwise a lot. So I got some really big ones. I got some really small ones. So I'm just going to cut the big ones first. Yum. All right. And I'm going to dice these up. Cool. These, I think, just due to experience from 2 minutes ago, are much closer to the rice grain size, so that's nice. All right, I see some stray pieces, so I'm going to run my knife through one more time. Great. That looks amazing. Now on to the smaller mushrooms. So I'm just going to cut here. Right, there look a little big. I'll run my knife through one more time. And the perpendicular direction so I don't have things that are too long. All right, notice it's not super. So the shiitakes, I thought I cut a lot more loosely and imprecisely, right? So here are my baby bellas. They're nice and cubic. And here are my shiitakes. They're much more finely diced, and they have irregular shapes, and I think that's actually better. If I were to do this dish again, I would probably cut my portobellos the exact same way I just cut the shiitakes. All right. What do you mean if you were to do this again? Haven't you cooked this before? Yes, but it's been a while. It's been a while. Okay. So, LOL, that's incredible. Meg, I don't know what's incredible. Okay, Mr. So. It's Italian. Okay. Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. When I make soups, I just throw everything in the steamer, and the texture of the vegetables is very completely. Yeah, I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, Gallagher. Okay. So what do we have here? We have this much mushrooms, this much mushrooms, and I want my rice to be around half of that. I want this dish to be half rice, half mushrooms, right? You can vary the ratio to however what you really want. But before we get into that, there are 2 other ingredients I want to add. All right, so I'm just going to leave these here. Right, 2 separate piles, doesn't really matter. Is it important that I keep everything in 2 separate piles? No, it just looks better, and I'm just putting it that way just in case Chris Morocco watches this video. Okay, I'm gonna have 2 cloves of garlic because everything tastes better with garlic. I'm just gonna smash both of these with my knife here. Bam, bam. Just like a banana, you just take the tip of the banana and everything comes off. Nice, and I have this super nice peeled garlic that's crushed. Same thing here. You see I just crushed this, but I grabbed the tip of the banana and everything comes off after I smash it. This one has a little bit of grossness on it. I'm just going to cut that off. Never throw those out. Shame on you if you waste food. I'm going to put that in my compost bin. Wonderful. Okay, that's what I'm saying, Enzo. So now this is, the cool thing is, like, after you crush garlic, it's almost like it's ready to dice anyway. So all I gotta do is cut it once this way through. Oh, you guys can't even see, what a shame. Okay, here, right, I'll do this one time through an angle that you guys can see. Okay. And I don't even have to, I mean, I can cut it a little bit more if I really want. Boom. All right, and I'm gonna take out the butts because I don't like the butts. Okay, cool. All right, so now I have garlic, you know, crushed and minced and sliced to be around the same size as the, what is this, the mushrooms, right? It could be a little finer. All right, and if you remember correctly, I said we have 2 more ingredients to mess around with. And the second would be a shallot. All right, this is a really key ingredient in the risotto. If you don't have shallots, that's okay. They're just a milder version of an onion, okay? They're really cute looking. They look like this, all right? So by all intents and purposes, they look like onions, but they are purple on the inside, so they're kind of like red onions, okay? I'm just gonna rub this between my hands really fast to get all the skin off. Nobody likes onion skin. Nobody likes shallot skin, right? It's gross, gross. All right, and there's still like this penultimate layer. That's fine. I'm just gonna cut this in half lengthwise, okay? I'm gonna do the same here, all right? That kind of makes it easier to peel, right? So if I cut it in half, now I can kind of pick at this last layer here, like you're trying to, like you made a mistake taping something and you're trying to peel off the tape. We've all been there, okay? I've definitely been there. Type in the chat if you've been there before. If you tape something mistakenly and you really gotta work hard to peel it off. Lame. Thank you, Meg. Solidarity, sister. Okay, so this is taking a little longer than I thought. My apologies. Oh, this one's a really old shallot. That shell looks kind of lame. Compost you go. Okay, cool. Then I guess this is the same way. And what I want basically an equal amount of shallots to, you know what, I mean, I'm telling you what I'm doing, but you guys can do whatever you want, right? You're your own people. You don't have to listen to me, right? So what I'm going for is like an equal ratio of shallots, like diced shallots, to the mushrooms, right? So it's like like in thirds, like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 3, 3, 3, right? So I'm just gonna dice my shallots really fine, right? Save that root. Don't want that root. Cool. But it makes for a fantastic stock. All right. So I'm just gonna slice along the grain again, right? So it's vertical, okay? And then I'm gonna do one horizontal slice because this is a lot skinnier than an onion. And then I'm gonna really quickly go cross grain, and that'll give me really nice, tiny diced cubes for my shallots. Wonderful. Same mechanism here. I'm just gonna cut lengthwise. Right, I don't even have to make a horizontal cut this time because these are so skinny already. Okay, I'm going to arrange them lengthwise here and just go, yay, yay, I love cooking, I love you. Okay, so I have my shallots. There are a couple stray long pieces. I don't know why that's happening. Okay, this technique is usually foolproof. And now, we are ready. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to get a bunch of butter. All right, cool. And I guess, I don't know, you want a mixture of butter and olive oil. Okay, so I'm just going to cut around like this much butter. You want enough butter to like toast the things in question, right? So I'm going to put a bunch of butter in the pan. I'm going to heat up my pan, okay? And I also have this pot of water going, which is great. So I can brew my tea, all right? Today, like many other days, I'm going to be drinking a Fuji Midori, which is just a sencha from Kurogi, Japan. Yum. Okay, so the butter is melting. Excellent. It's an unsalted butter. I have some olive oil here. All right. I'm going to put that in there. If you ask why we do this, there are a lot of reasons. Like, obviously, they have different flavor profiles. This looks like a lot of butter, but don't worry. That's like the only, this is the only fat going in the dish, and you know, fat's healthy anyway. Butter has an intensely rich flavor, right? And it's delicious. But it also has an extremely low smoking point compared to other oils. So whereas butter will start smoking and like, you know, turn brown and burn around like 200 degrees, olive oil has a smoking point of around like 300 degrees, right? So if you mix the two, you're basically raising the smoking point of whatever you're cooking, right? And olive oil itself also has a pretty low smoking point as far as like vegetable oils go. Like peanut oil, famous, and grapeseed oil have very high smoking points. So you're able to like put it on a really high heat without that smoking effect. All right, so the rest of us, Miss Wax, but you know, we just gotta calm down for a little bit and like focus on the cooking first. Okay. So here we go. I have a bunch of butter here. I forget the order. I mean, here's how easy and forgiving this recipe is. I've forgotten the order, right? I don't know if I'm supposed to toast the rice first or if I'm supposed to cook down the mushrooms first. I assume I'm cooking the mushrooms first. Yes, all right. And if you're ever in doubt, that's a really good rule, is to cook your mushrooms first, okay? Because mushrooms are impossible to overcook. It's actually, there's a really cool video on YouTube explaining the science behind why it's impossible to overcook a mushroom, okay? Of course, we're gonna season this with salt. Oh, can't see, sorry. And a little bit of pepper, right? It's something about the way the fibers are, how do I say this? The way the cell walls are kind of arranged within the mushroom means it's basically impossible to overcook. So like the longer you cook it, like the structural integrity of the mushroom doesn't change. Whereas like with meats, like they get super tough if you like overcook them. And with certain vegetables, they wilt and get way too soft if you overcook them and stuff, and they lose the flavor, but not the mushroom. The mushroom you could basically cook forever. and its unique structural properties dictate that it'll always maintain its whatever, whatever, whatever. Which means whatever, 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 put them in first if you ever have any doubt, because they're the ones that can't overcook, okay? So I'm gonna let them cook down a little bit, all right? They do take a lot longer to cook than, let's say, an onion or a garlic. Garlic is notoriously super, super fast to cook. I have this on a, I don't really call it a medium-high, medium-low heat. Just take a look at the size of my flame. You can't see it because the camera's awful, but it's like it's a pretty decent-sized flame, all right? This is so bright, huh? Huh. What can I do to change that? Oh, no, I can't do that either. Okay, I have an idea. Excuse me. I'll be back. This is what I did the first one. Okay. Oof. All right, so I've blocked a little bit of the light off with the sheet of paper, and I'm noticing that it didn't do anything. Okay, all right. Look at those mushrooms. They're a little browned. They're absorbing the butter. I gotta say, the reason why I love this dish is it creates two of my favorite smells in the kitchen. My very favorite smell I have a top 3 list, okay? So my top 3 list for any smell in the kitchen is pan-fried garlic, like while it's in the pan and it's releasing its aromas. But this can extend to anything in the onion family: a shallot, a scallion, a leek, other types of onions, right? When you saute them in the pan, it really releases this beautiful aroma. Garlic fits in there as well. My second favorite smell is probably baking bread, especially bread with a lot of butter. The kind of smell that puts out in your house is just bellissimo, because we're making risotto. And my third favorite, and these are in no particular order, right? Even though I call them first, second, and third. The third favorite smell, I think, is mushroom sauteed in butter. It's so good. And today we get to experience 2 of them. All right, so we have mushroom sauteed in butter, and now, hell yeah, can I get a hell yeah in the chat? All right, I'm gonna put in my shallots. I see a bit of skin there, goodbye. And my garlic. And whatever amount of rice I deem appropriate. All right. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay. And now you want to mix this all together. All right, so this is a pretty dangerous part of the risotto. You really have to closely monitor this. You want to lightly toast the rice. You want to coat it in some oils and butter. So if there isn't enough oil, if there isn't enough butter, because the mushrooms are greedy and absorbed it all, you can add a little bit more. No big deal. But the one thing you do not want to do, all right, is to burn the rice. The rice should not be turning brown or, God forbid, black. That is like exactly what we don't want, all right? So I'm like very closely looking at this rice, right? Turning it very frequently so that the rice on the bottom gets a chance to go on the top and it doesn't burn, all right? But you want to maintain a very fine balance of letting it toast, but also not letting it burn, right? So that's like very dangerous. I've also lowered the heat accordingly so that doesn't happen. You should be getting a really cool smell here, all right? I'm telling you, I'm smelling a mix of onions, garlic, the mushrooms, and this toasted rice gives like a kind of like nutty aroma. All right, if you know what I'm talking about. All right. So again, we have this here. I'm gonna turn it again. Cool, cool, cool. It's so bright. What about now? Oh, nice. Now you, yeah. So I'm just doing that again. Remember I said there was going to be 3 mushrooms today? In this pot, this whole time, I've had a pot of hot water and dried porcini mushrooms, okay? So that's making a mushroom stock. That is going to be the base of our risotto, all right? A mushroom stock risotto. When my rice is almost perfectly toasted. Yum. It should be looking slightly translucent at this point, just around the edges, okay? Like this. Here's what we're looking at so far. Yum, okay? And now I'm gonna do the fun part. You wanna pour in a little bit of the stock. And now here's how we're actually gonna cook the rice, right? Because if I were to eat this right now, why would you ever do that? It's gross, it's hard, it's crunchy, and you're gonna put it in here. All right, only put enough so that the water level is identical to the rice level, all right? And for this, it's really key that your stock is warm, okay? It's super vital that it's warm. So that's why I have it in a pot on a burner, all right? And now you're gonna turn up the heat on the risotto, and you're gonna wait until it bubbles and it simmers, and when it bubbles, that's when you're gonna turn the heat a little down and maintain like a very delicate simmer, exactly like what I have going on right now. So now that it's bubbling, I'm gonna turn it on to my smallest flame, okay? And just let this absorb the stock. So right now the rice is gonna absorb the stock, and then when, as it absorbs the stock, obviously the stock level will decrease, and we gotta keep topping it off with the stock we have. Here's now why we want to keep the stock warm. If the stock was cold, or room temperature counts as cold. You want to keep it hot. When you pour in the cold stock to your risotto, it's going to chill your risotto, and it's going to like really slow the cooking process, right? So that's why you want to keep this stock the same temperature as this stock. So when you pour it in to keep it topped off, it's going to be Gucci, right? Gucci Manucci. I'm going to bring my tea now. Yum. All right. For those of us coming in from the philosophy class, if you have any further questions, where did we leave off with the ship of Theseus yesterday, right? It's just like, I think something pretty eye-opening for a lot of us was the illusion of continuity. I think that's a pretty big kind of thing. To make the stock, I just put dried mushrooms in hot water for 30 minutes. Yes, that's why the delay was here today, right? Because, it's about production value. I'm not going to make you wait 30 minutes. I had to do that beforehand. And just checking the water level, no big deal. You can also leave the mushrooms in room temperature water, but you'd have to do that for like 24 hours. So if you want to do it quickly, and because we live in a right, I want it now society, right? Just make it hot and, put in, I use dried porcini mushrooms. Let's see. Those look like this, okay? But you could have very easily used But these are dried porcini mushrooms as well. These are dried forest mushrooms. You could have used dried shiitake mushrooms. That's what these are. I would not have used morel mushrooms though. That's something that wouldn't be appropriate for this dish. But almost any other mushrooms would be great, especially like chanterelles. Chanterelle, oh, yum, yum. Okay, I'm looking at the water level. Wow, look at that. The water's almost all gone. Right? So, what am I gonna do? Check me out. Check me out. I'm gonna put in more stock. Top it off. And now my stock's gone. Okay, that's not a big deal. This is great, actually. Uh-oh. What are you doing there, buddy? Okay, because now I told you we were gonna have 3 different types of mushrooms, right? So here's our third type. First of all, I gotta pour this tea out before it oversteeps. Oh, that's so green. Oh my goodness. Can't wait. Here's our third mushroom, right? Those are my porcinis that were used to make the stock. But now, after I let them cool, I'm gonna season them a little bit. Cool. After they calm down a little bit, we can chop them really fine and then add them back to the risotto. So I have a triple mushroom risotto. Whoa. Okay. So get pumped for that. Anyways, what were we talking about? We were talking about the ship of Theseus. I was reading through your responses. I thought a lot of them were very good. Some comments. Let me take a moment to read everyone's fun one. So Luca said, "A river is a flame." That one I like a lot. I think it was a great Japanese philosopher and poet who said, "A fire and a waterfall are two of the things that will never be the same at any 2 points in time. So whatever you see now, you have to cherish it." Right? Is one of the ideas of that. To which Heraclitus would say, "I don't think so, buddy. Everything changes. Everything changes. Nothing is the same at 2 points in time," right? And of course that statement comes with an asterisk, right? If he says nothing is the same or nothing is constant between any 2 points in time, the asterisk being the only thing that is that things are changing. And the change in itself is the constant driving force. Mr. So, I can't find cookie cutters. I think I'm gonna make soup and use the what? I never said to use a cookie cutter. A river is a flame in that they are both things that are like self-contained. They're both fluid and they both are ever changing. They both are things that are completely reliant on change, right? So as Heraclitus would say, a river, if it weren't flowing, and if the water molecules actually stayed, wouldn't be a river. It would be a skinny lake, right? In the same way, a flame it needs to flicker. There needs to be some element of dynamism to the flame for it to be the thing, right? Gallagher, that's so smart. I just used a cup and cut around it. I never said to use a cookie. What are you guys talking about? Am I forgetting something here? Do we need to be using a cookie cutter? Anyways, that's what Luca said. Let's see. Enza. Oh, and Luca also said, cool Heraclitus fact, the correct ancient Greek pronunciation of his name is Heraclitus. A pronunciation she does not like. That's fine. Enza writes, an infinite series can converge to a finite value. Math nerd alert. Yes. So an infinite series can converge to a finite value. So you could say the infinite and the finite are the same. Whoa. If you guys don't understand the profundity of that statement, think about a sum, right? Like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, right? Or anything like that. Or famously, the things that converge to finite values like 1 plus 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/4 plus 1/5 plus 1/6 plus 1/7, blah, blah, blah. And if you go forever, you would assume that it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger forever. But that infinite sum actually converges to a very well-known finite value. Whoa! So Enza's little twist on this would be that infinite and finite things are the same. I'm going to add on, and then Enza commented on Lucas, Heraclitus just sits on the tongue better. Yes. And to which I would add another comment. Enza, how do you even pronounce your last name? Okay. Itamar writes, glee is only attainable by an equal oscillation of sorrow. Glee and sorrow are one and the same oscillations of equal magnitude and mood. Interesting, kind of like night and day. Like you can't have night without day, you can't have day without night, and they are two phases of the same cosmic entity. And glee and sorrow are just two phases of the same human experience. Okay. Wow, look at this. Look, oh, block that. Wow, look at that, right? Ooh, it's a little gelatinous. I'm pretty sure it's nowhere close to done, but I'm just gonna give it a go anyway. Oh, it's very close to done. What the heck? Did I even get rice? Everything was so soft. Yeah, so right now the rice is a little bit firmer and tougher than standard al dente. So I'm going to keep letting that cook. Now we can gonna dice our porcini mushrooms. Okay, I want to get them the exact same size as the others. Although these aren't going to be sneaky mushrooms at all in the slightest, because they are obviously so much darker than the other mushrooms and they're darker than the rice. But you just want to keep that same consistency, right? So I'm going to put that in the pot. Delicious. Yum. Gonna mix that in there. All right, and now I'm gonna take a departure, right? You can keep adding warm water. This is for my non-vegetarians out there. I just happen to have some homemade chicken stock left over from around a couple months ago. It's been in my freezer for a while. I'm gonna put that in here. This just adds an additional richness of flavor, but I'm telling you, with 3 different types of mushroom, there's so much flavor and umami there already, like you really don't need to add an animal-based stock, but just saying, the jazz is possible, okay? All right, so Jonas, like the Jonas Brothers. Oh, so I was kind of hoping it was a soft J, but it's a hard J. Junie. But what about the last part? Isn't there like an S in your name too? All right, so it's Jonas Junie. Junie. Jonas Junie. All right, cool. My Italian cousins told us we were pronouncing it. Huh. Thank you very much. What am I doing with the mushrooms right now? They're all just chilling, you know? Yum. Look at that. Jacqueline's song writes, let's see. Whoop. Excuse me. White light contains all colors of light, but white light itself is colorless. Ah, interesting. So I guess some of you are very eager to incorporate what you're learning in science and math into this humanities inquiry, which is great. Okay. I'm reading your responses to the third question, okay, which the prompt is, taking the assumption that the universe is explicable, how is Heraclitus' explanation of the logos of the universe? Oh my goodness, what a horrible typo. Oh my goodness. Hold up, I just gotta edit this. Yikes. Oh my goodness. How do I edit this? It's not letting me edit it. Oh my goodness. Uh, oh no. Oh man. Okay. Well, okay. Before I edit it, it soaked up almost all of the broth, and I'm gonna add in the remainder of this broth. It's gonna add a different dimension, and it would not be a risotto. Risotto without Parmesan cheese, right? This is gonna add a different layer of funk than the mushrooms. It's gonna add a nice saltiness, increased depth of flavor. You're gonna add it straight into this broth, okay? If you have pre-grated like I do, that's great. If you have an actual block that you grate right then and there, that's even better. I find if you use fresh grated Parmesan cheese, I do usually, it dissolves and melts much easier into the risotto. Okay. So I'm gonna get my stirring spoon. And what this does is after it melts into the risotto, okay, it helps give it a much creamy texture. And it's already gonna be a little creamy because we didn't wash the rice, right? So all the starch that's like on the coating of the rice kind of, what does it do? It just like, it dissipates into the broth itself. So right now I have two types of compounds, binding compounds that are helping thicken the stock. One is the starch of the rice itself, and the other is this Parmesan cheese, and it's going to make it a little thicker, a little creamier. No big deal. I'm getting so hungry right now. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, you see. Okay. And I think a lot of you are hitting really great points in answering the third question. So let me read again, but grammatically correct. I won't try and fix my question, but it's fine. It's just so embarrassing. I'm so embarrassed. And it's not like, oh, now I can edit it. Hell yeah. Okay. Okay, taking the assumption that the universe is explicable, how is Heraclitus' explanation of the logos of the universe different from that of the Milesians? How is it similar? Okay. And the simplest part of the answer is already in the question, that taking the assumption that the universe is explicable. That is something both Heraclitus and the Milesians are assuming, that it's explicable. They both also take into account constant things within change, right? They look at basically, right, Thales was looking at a person whose personality traits might change over time, yet he remains the same person, right? So, and in that way, they both recognize that things change over time, and they both recognize that things, despite that change over time, remain constant, right? But after that is where they kind of split off. I would go as far as to say the thing that remained, for the Milesian philosophers and the naturalists, the thing that remains constant is something physical, right? And they try to boil it down to general principle and like fundamental building blocks of matter, like water or air, in the case of Thales and Anaximenes. Whereas Heraclitus says while things change and things remain constant under the change, like identity and stuff, he goes as far as to say the one thing that remains constant is something much more abstract. The one thing that remains constant is the fact that things change. And he's not looking at a physical substance that remains constant throughout the change, right? That, I think, is the biggest difference. It's something concrete versus something abstract. But in that same strain of thought, he actually is quite similar to Anaximander, who was struggling with the abstract concept of infinity, and that being a kind of constant unifying essence of the universe. So those are all the ways you can kind of explore that answer, right? Cool. We're almost done. Yay! Wow. That's my risotto. I'm sorry, our risotto. Okay. Probably the worst pronoun you can ever use in your whole life is mine. How egocentric. Now I would say it's up to you, right? You can taste the risotto, and you can taste the doneness of every time it runs out of stock, right? And it's basically just rice with like a really starchy, creamy sauce. Taste the rice. If it's the texture you want, it should be a little tough. It shouldn't be like steamed rice, okay? It should not be soft. It should have a little bit of bite to it, but not crunchy. But there's a spectrum, right? There's like super al dente and like not very al dente. Once it's at a point you like, stop adding broth, stop cooking, right? Okay. What if you work in a... Jimon, do you think that's clever? That's so good. Doesn't even need any more salt. I think the original level of salt I put in with the mushrooms is enough to carry over. There's also a bit of salt in the Parmesan cheese, and I also salted the porcini mushrooms. So I'm gonna let the broth evaporate a little bit because I do think it's still a little soupy, right? But I'm gonna now prepare to plate this dish, okay? As a great teacher once taught me, keep your station clear. Keep your station clean. All right? So I'm brushing everything to the floor. Not a big deal because I sweep the floor every day because this is a real restaurant kitchen. Okay? But keep your station clean. Keep it clean. Arms tucked. All right? That's one of the first things I learned in culinary school. What am I doing? Oh, yeah, that's right. We're trying to plate the dish. Okay, so all I have here is a scallop stock. I would traditionally use parsley, but I don't have parsley right now. And I also think the scallions add a very cute touch to the rest of the dish because, check it out, guys. Didn't I say at first that this was a triple mushroom risotto? With the addition of these scallions, we can now call our dish both triple mushroom and triple onion because I got green onions, I got shallots, and I have garlic. So 3 members of the onion family, 3 members of the mushroom family together make a double triple risotto. Wow! Okay. Nice. Now this is the perfect consistency that I want. Okay. I'll let you see. Yeah. Right. Yep. All right. So, and turn the flame off. I have a plate. Any bowl works, okay? But you'd want ideally a shallow bowl, not like a deep cereal bowl. You kind of want a little shallow one here. Okay. I'm gonna just put this in here. Okay. I have enough for leftovers. Excellent. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Presentation is key. My kids never eat anything unless it looks pristine. I spoil them. Okay. Okay, actually, that looks awful. I'm just going to flatten it out so it covers the entire base of the bowl. Nice. Okay. To here, what could you add that I'm not? You could actually add like a different, you can slice up button mushrooms and saute them. So you have like whole bits of mushrooms, and then you can like plate them on the top here. So it has like a really nice visual element. But whatever you do, make sure to add some green in there. It pretties up the whole thing. You know, look at that. Yum. Okay, so this is our triple mushroom, triple onion risotto. Okay. Complete with some Parmesan cheese. Eat it with a spoon. Okay. And that's exactly what I'll be doing. I have some green tea. Yum. You know what I noticed? Bon Appetit doesn't have a tea person. Maybe I could be the tea person. Okay. Oh, yum. Yum. Okay. So here we go. Here's the first bite of our double triple risotto. Okay. Whipped cream? What? Dima, have you ever had risotto? Mm. Mm. That is quite good. So, Meg, I hope you have enough stuff in your pantry to make this for dinner. If you don't, that's cool. It is quite good. It's super easy to make, I think. It just requires that you're attentive, like a good shepherd, right? The initial toasting process, don't let your rice burn. While it's cooking in the pan, as soon as the water level drops and there's like no more water left because the rice is absorbing it, taste the rice. If it's not at a texture you want, add a little bit of more hot broth. So you just got to keep on watching it, right? It's dishes like these, I think, that are really rewarding because it takes a lot of love. You got to watch over it a lot. Mm. That's quite good. Okay. So before I turn this into a whole mukbang, let's talk about I'm sorry, I was just like really hungry. Usually I like if it was a real show, I would just take a bite and it would cut out, right? Roll credits. Pan up, Meg. Pan to the side, Meg. Uh, um, but that's not that, right? And this is like an actual office hours. So if you guys have any real questions for me, okay, regarding philosophy, regarding physics, regarding life, now is the time, all right? Be happy to answer anything for you. For those of you in my philosophy section, our philosophy section, okay, make sure you turn in the assignment by tomorrow. When school resumes next week, I think we'll go at half the pace. All right. So, but get pumped, right? Because the next reading I think is going to be very interesting. It's I think these first two sections kind of dealt with like really abstract, not abstract, but kind of like loosely formulated arguments. And they're more just like observations and guesses about how the world works and stuff. I call them kind of like bathtub philosophy, right? It's like stuff you think about in the bathtub after a while. Whereas who we're studying next, okay, Parmenides, we actually have a lot of his formulated formal arguments, right? So we can actually start to look at the actual act of philosophizing, which is more than just thinking, but about how to construct and both how to critique an argument, right? And that's the fun part about philosophy, I think. It's what Ayanava's doing right now, I guess, right? The role of a shepherd is multiplicitous, multifaceted, Timon. Not only does the shepherd protect the flock, his flock, or his or her flock, their flock of sheep, they lead their sheep to areas of pastures, right? So they make sure the sheep don't overgraze a particular plot of land. So they rotate the sheep and bring the sheep to water, blah blah blah. And if they're good, they're moving the sheep to areas where they're safe from wolves, so they don't even have to fight the wolves off to begin with. It's in the word, right? Sheep, herd. That's a shepherd. You herd sheep. It's not sheep protector, it's herder. You're moving sheep. That's what a shepherd does. They're just moving sheep. They're herding sheep, right? Okay. But before my risotto gets cold, I'd like to eat the rest of it in peace. So if you guys have no more questions, I will post the next assignment for the philosophy course. I'm still waiting for some of my AP students to turn in their problems so I can assign them to other students. Okay, so please do that. Yes, because the dogs are also shepherds, right? That's why they call them shepherd dogs. Yeah, so if there are no more questions, I'm just going to go and eat. And I wish you a very restful, relaxing weekend. It's finally starting to get a little warmer. Step outside if you think it's safe. And happy philosophizing and happy cooking. It was great to see you guys this morning. Goodbye.